Be a nice place to watch the sunset. These guys have been out on jet skis. Now we're in a place called Kamenari-Lepetane, and I'm going to get the ferry across to the other side of the bay so I can drive through to Tivat. So I'm currently just waiting in the ferry queue, which looks very long, but I don't think it's that long really. They seem to be processing quite quickly, and these ferries that are here just roll on, roll off, and they just go backwards and forwards across the bay constantly all day. This is the coastal road that runs from Herceg Novi through to Kotor. You can't get to Tivat without crossing the water basically. It's on the other side, unless you wanted to drive maybe, I don't know, 150 kilometers around the mountain range over there, the coastline. There's lots of water sports going on the bay, loads of yachting, power boats. So it appears that you can't actually, you can't just get in the ferry queue for cars and buy a ticket as you get on the ro-ro. But then there's nowhere to park either to get out of the car unless you've got a passenger. So I had to come out of the queue, drive further down the road, find somewhere to park, walk back to the little kiosk, buy the ticket. Yeah, there's like 20 people at the boat that could just be collecting. There you go, there's loads of people that could just be collecting payment as you get on or off, but they don't do that. And this is the Bay of Kotor, the mountain ranges, beautiful scenery, and this is the ferry that takes you across to Tivat. Otherwise you've got to drive a long, very long way round. People here seem pretty friendly, but there's so many different languages spoken. I've seen people from neighbouring countries, Albania, Slovenia, Croatia. Try not to get run over on this crazy bend. So it appears once you get to these ferries, you can't buy a return ticket, and therefore you have to find somewhere to park in very limited places to park, because everything is pretty much residential, or it has markers that says you can't park because it's a main coastal road. And then you have to go to the little kiosk and buy your ticket, €4 one way, and then you can't turn left into the ferry queue, so you have to then go find another place to turn around in somebody's driveway ultimately, and then get back into the ferry lane for cars. All the ferries have a toilet on board, but they're all open deck and it doesn't take very long to cross over. So maybe we'll get to Tivat at some point today, but it's Sunday so everything's closed, so I'm just having a bit of a drive around, to be honest. There's some really nice historic buildings here. Cucinas, restaurants. I was front of the queue, so I've ended up front of the car deck, and I didn't understand what the guy was shouting at me to do. You can hear the ferry noise in the background. noise, if you can hear anything, is actually the ferry's engines. I'm going to turn around full 180 degrees, go forwards. So the ship goes forwards and then backs onto the dock. Montenegro has quite a lot of World War II history. Tomorrow I'm going to go and have a look at some caves which we used to hide submarines during World War II, and go and look at some forts and castles. Everything's closed today because it's Sunday. Before luxury super yachts and high-end hotels transformed this coastline, Tivat was a massive fortress of steel and military secrecy. For over a century, these exceptionally deep waters belonged entirely to the Arsenal Navy shipyard, first built by the Austro-Hungarian Empire. During the Cold War, it became a massive repair hub for the Yugoslav Navy. Behind restricted concrete walls, thousands of local residents worked day and night, servicing top-secret submarines and destroyers, completely cutting off the waterfront from civilian life. In 2007, the military marched out, and a powerful international investment consortium stepped in, led by the Canadian billionaire Peter Monk. This group bought the decommissioned naval yard for over €23 million to completely reinvent the derelict region. Their massive financial backing funded an extensive environmental cleanup of the seabed. This paved the way for the five-star Regent Hotel and Porto, Montenegro, beautifully reimagining an old industrial military relic into a premier world-class luxury destination. I'm now off the ferry, and I've made my way into Tivat, and I've just followed signs for the beach and then found somewhere to park. Looks like parking's free at the beach. Well, at least on the shore area, not in the car park area. One of the things I noticed here is that trying to find a public toilet is pretty much nigh on impossible because everything's connected with hotels, etc. And therefore, basically between leaving my hotel in Herceg Novi and driving right way around the bay, using the ferry to cross the Bay of Kotor, I did not manage to find a toilet anywhere that I could stop because there's literally no parking and there's nowhere to stop really. So I managed to hold it in until I got all the way to the shore at Tivat, and then some guys that were doing some jet skiing told me that there was a Pizzeria restaurant just around the corner, which is open on a Sunday because obviously everything is closed here, and that's where I've gone to. So nice friendly local restaurant, and it's called Pizzeria AS Grill. So if you happen to be in Tivat, anywhere near the beach, pay it a visit. The toilet's basic, but it is what it is. So that's the sign, pay them a visit, local place. Apparently it's really unusually hot at this time of year. The peak season doesn't actually start till I think mid-May through to June and July. Earlier this week before I got here, it was hammering down with rain and it was pretty cold, 8 degrees. So they just told me in the restaurant that the weather here is just not normal for this time of year. So I've come in a little bit of a heat wave, but I didn't know that. There's just stunning views across the bay from Tivat as well. Obviously you can't see Herceg Novi from here because there's too many other islands in the way. And this is Plaza Baleine. It's got a cordoned off area for swimming. There's a cafe bar here, but it's not open today because it's Sunday. But as I said, here's the cafe bar, which is Red Lobster, is closed on a Sunday, and AS Pizza is just there near the Splendido Hotel, which says it's a Splendido Bar Hotel 4-star. It's opposite that. So you can launch boats and jet skis here. Down here on the beachfront, it's like lots of apartment style housing, or maybe they're just houses, where right on the coastline. I imagine they're quite expensive houses, to be fair, but certainly different to houses we see in the UK, and they look like they're built far better. I think they're insulated externally, but largely built out of reinforced concrete and painted or rendered. Some have got private moorings. Be a nice place to watch the sunset. These guys have been out on jet skis. There's a harbour over there at Tivat. Just seems like a really nice, peaceful place. Unlike the UK, which is turning into basically a big shithole right now. Everybody here seems really laid back. Most people speak English. Everything's cheap. So something quite funny just happened. I'm out in the middle of nowhere, just coming back to the ferry terminal to go back over to my hotel, and I stop in this car park literally in the middle of nowhere, like no signs that I can easily read anyway. And this guy comes over out of nowhere and he says, "You can't park here because it's where the staff park." I said, "Well, where do you want me to park?" And he said, "Oh, you need to come out of that space and just move one car space down." And I thought, that's just a bit petty, really, given it took me like 2 minutes to buy a ferry ticket from the kiosk. But I'm now back on the ferry, not first in the queue like I was on the way over, somewhere far back. But it takes about 8 minutes, if that, maybe less, to cross over back to Lepetane, and then follow the coast road back round until get around the bay to Herceg Novi, and then follow the bay around past Igala, and into the next sort of like municipality, which is where some of the hotels are. So if you've enjoyed this video so far, hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I've driven back around the bay from Tivat back to Herceg Novi, and the road speeds are pretty slow around here, to be fair. In built-up areas it's 30 kilometers an hour. In villages it's 30 kilometers an hour, which feels pretty slow, obviously, if you're used to driving at 30 miles an hour. And then only on the motorways and expressways can you do 100 kilometers to 120 kilometers an hour. On busier roads it's 80 kilometers an hour. In Montenegro this is. And then in school zones it's 30 kilometers an hour, and then between the municipality areas it's 40 or 50 kilometers an hour. Then sometimes it goes to 60 for about 50 meters, and then it drops you down to 40 again, which is pretty much like what it is in the UK, with ridiculous short strips of 60 kilometers an hour. But we're heading back up the other side of the bay now, so I'm going to stop at the place where I did a video before, which is a viewing point overlooking the Bay of Kotor. But this is what it looks like now. Sun setting. So now I'm back at a viewing point, which is in Herceg Novi. Sorry about the car noise. And it's right in front of the a bar called Holiday Lounge Bar, which is right up on top of the cliffside up there. There's a lift, I guess, or stairs that goes all the way up to the top. Stairs on the outside and a lift on the inside. And there's a bar up there, a restaurant, loads of parking, which appears to be free. And then there's this I Love Herceg Novi viewing platform, which overlooks the Bay of Kotor. So pretty stunning scenery. It's taken most of the afternoon and evening to drive to Tivat and back again. There's not really a lot at Tivat, to be fair, so I'm glad I didn't actually stay there. I was trying to stay in Tivat, but I couldn't find a flight combination that worked. It didn't really work for me, and I've been there. It's pretty much hotels and beaches, that's all it is, but the beaches are not sandy, they're quite pebbly. And the sandy-ish beaches are actually at Herceg Novi, where I'm going to go tomorrow and look at the old architecture and stuff. But have a look at that view. Beautiful.